Hey y'all, Michelle Raza here with the Finding Yourself Book Club, and today we're going to keep talking about John Gottman's What Makes Love Last. We started discussing recovering from infidelity, and today we're going to continue on that chapter on choosing a therapist. If you haven't had a chance yet, please do check out our website. We're at www.findingyourselfsatx.com. There you can fill out our free life balance questionnaire. You can also just fill out a contact form or chat with us there. It is me that responds to you. Hope y'all are having a great day. Thank you for spending time with me. And without further ado, we'll get started. Choosing a therapist. If you conclude that your relationship is worth salvaging, and that's of course after taking the quiz. So he does have a quiz here that he recommends that you take, starting on page 148 of the book. If you conclude that your relationship is worth salvaging, find an experienced counselor or therapist who is effective in working with couples coping with infidelity. Therapists employ all kinds of approaches. In mine, it is the professional's job to get the wounded spouse's thoughts and emotions and then describe them to the therapist eloquently with deep empathy. In effect, the therapist bridges the gap between the partners by articulating with great precision what the hurt spouse is feeling and ensuring that the other fully understands. You may not be able to find a therapist whose method mirrors what I do, but it is imperative that you find someone qualified who will not subject you to inappropriate or even damaging forms of therapy. Among the musts to avoid is any therapist who suggests that you do not discuss the betrayal and let bygones be bygones. Just moving on with your relationship is a terrible idea, even if the affair happened 20 years ago. You cannot heal until you have processed the trauma. To offer a grim analogy, this approach is like discovering a malignant tumor during surgery, and then stitching the patient back up without removing it. Yet the advice to move on is not uncommon, particularly among pastoral counselors, ministers, priests, rabbis, and imams. Although these advisors are well-meaning, this strategy is harmful. Recently, as part of a segment on Canada TV for a program called The Science of Sin, I worked with a couple whose experience illustrates how counterproductive it is to ignore what happened and get on with it. Here's a partial transcript of my session with them. John Gottman, tell me what your own understanding is right now about the affair, why it happened, and where you are now in your relationship. Laura, we've seen 2 ministers. Malcolm, they advised us to put all this behind us and move on. The affair is over. I have come back to my family, so I am moving forward. Gottman, and do you understand his decision to come back to you? Laura, not really, no. Gottman, do you want to try to tell her why you're back? Malcolm, okay, I'll try again to tell you. I love your family and our children, and I really value the kind of person you are. I have a lot of respect for you, as a mother and as a wife. Gottman, and how does that sound to you? Laura, really how it sounds to me is hollow and empty. I just don't believe you. I don't really know why you're back. I don't know what you saw in her either. Malcolm, you know she was someone from work. We had that in common. We could talk about work easily. Laura, I kept asking you to talk to me about work, but you were always so quiet. Malcolm, there wasn't much to say about it. It was stressful. That's it. You had enough to worry about with 5 kids and all. Laura, I know it's been very hard for you these past few years, but you talked to her instead of me. Gottman, there have been some real financial setbacks, I understand. Malcolm, yes. Laura, it's been hard on me too, but we've done it together, haven't we? Malcolm, you've been great. You've always been amazing. You handle everything so well. Laura, so why did you go to her? I saw her picture, and I'm much more attractive than she is. Malcolm, no, she's not as beautiful as you are. Gottman to Malcolm. Maybe you could explain what happened for you, what you saw in her. Malcolm. The ministers told us not to talk about it, not to dwell on it. Gottman. But it leaves her not understanding why you left or why you're back, so it might be better to explain some of what happened to you. Malcolm. She was very needy, not like you at all. She really needed me. You can handle everything yourself. Laura. I'm self-sufficient because I had to be. You were always at work. I backed off because you were so stressed these past years. I didn't want to add to your burdens. I hated being so alone. Gottman. I recall as part of my assessment that your conflict discussion was about you not wanting to be seen as badgering him. Malcolm. Yes, she had been badgering me about the affair. All the details. I haven't wanted to add to her pain. The ministers also said not to dwell on it. Gottman to Laura. I think you haven't badgered him enough. You have both avoided conflict, and in our assessments, you both scored 100% in loneliness. Does that seem right? Laura. It is for me. Malcolm. Me too. A lot of times I feel like just a paycheck with a pulse to you. You don't need me for anything. A lot of times I don't even want to come home from work. Laura. I didn't ever know you felt that way. Gottman. But the other woman. Malcolm. I felt she needed me. She had so many problems. Her life is a real mess. Laura. I needed you too, but you always got so mad when I asked you to talk to me about how you felt about your work. Gottman to Malcolm. You were silent in this relationship, and you were being strong in the face of all the stress by being silent? Malcolm. My whole family growing up, everyone was silent. There was no yelling like in some families, but no one ever said they loved me. I guess they did, but I felt I could have walked out and nobody would have noticed. So I am like that, very, very quiet. Gottman. In your marriage, you were quiet, like in your family growing up. Malcolm. She had enough on her hands without me complaining. Gottman. So you both coped with enormous hardships, but you did so quietly and alone. Avoided talking about how alone you both felt left you both vulnerable to loneliness and left Malcolm feeling unneeded. That was the huge attractiveness of the other woman. So I'd say that your marriage is still in a crisis. Would you agree? Laura. I would. Malcolm. I would also. Gottman. See? I think those ministers were totally wrong. Research has shown that after an affair, people need to talk about it desperately. They need to understand it. They need to build a new relationship. And you don't do that without a lot of pain. Laura. I am in a lot of pain right now. I don't know what to do to make it better. Malcolm. I don't know either. Gottman. You have to keep talking about it. And the loneliness and conflict avoidance has to change. But you can't do it on your own. You need a competent couples therapist, not people who keep advising you to avoid talking to one another. Does that make sense? Laura. It does to me now. Malcolm. To me as well. Give me a second, y'all. It's clear that Laura is still traumatized by her husband's adultery and that they both feel lonely in their relationship. Not talking about it just doesn't work. Without proper intervention, this marriage may continue, but in name only. In such situations, it is common for the couple to lead parallel lives and never connect intimately. They will continue to feel isolated and profoundly lonely. The advice to forgive and forget may be the most prevalent wrong-headed treatment approach out there, but it is not the only one. It is also common for a therapist to instruct the betrayed partner not to be controlling once the affair is discovered. The injured party may be told to suppress the desire to check up on the partner or demand accountability, as if ongoing suspicion is a hindrance to healing. It is not. The hurt partner requires confirmation that the future won't hold another devastating blow. That means relentless reassurance for quite some time. For the relationship to survive, the guilty member must tolerate this need, understanding that this is a symptom of the post-traumatic stress that the betrayal created. It will not go away until therapy reestablishes enough trust. Okay, so in the next video, we're going to go through another example, some dialogue between a married couple that are grappling with an issue of lingering distrust, and then Gottman's list of counterproductive therapy approaches, and then we'll move on to their revival method: atone, attune, and attach. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I know it's quite a bit, and you guys are troopers for being here. I do highly recommend you pick up your own copy of the work. Also check out the Gottman Institute. As I've mentioned in previous videos, I don't get any type of compensation from the Gottman Institute for this. I just really find value in it. If you haven't had a chance, please do check out our website. We're at www.findingyourselfsatx.com. You can ping me there and chat. Also just fill out a contact form and we'll be in touch. So thank you. Have a great day, y'all. Take care.